record. All right, awesome. Well, welcome to this week's Zoom call. I'm really excited about this, guys, and I thank those of you that are making an effort to be here. And I understand that it's in the middle of the day and everybody can make it, but what I'm going to really encourage, especially for those of you watching this via the recording, and you're like, Jimmy, there's just no way I can make it on the middle of the day and on Wednesday. I get it. Where you're going to be able to continue to take advantage of this and really benefit, because you have two choices there, right? You can say, it's the middle of the day, why doesn't Jimmy do this at night? Or why doesn't he do it this and that? Or you can set aside time to watch the recording, and during the week or when I post it and say, hey, what do you guys want to talk about this week? Take advantage of that and post some things. And some of you guys did, and I want to thank you for that. So, at the end of the day, there's not going to be an ideal time for everybody. In the evenings, not an ideal time for me. That's the time I've set aside for my family and what we've chosen to do. You get my evenings on Monday nights on crew calls, and hopefully you're taking advantage of those as well. But I'm going to really encourage you to take advantage of this. And I'm going to continue to do this as long as you guys show up and take advantage of it, because it really was on my heart as Kelly and I were reviewing our business and how we wanted to honor you guys, the ones that chose to work with us personally. I was really convicted that I didn't feel like I was giving you guys as much time as possible. And, there's training videos and things we've done, but I also want to give you my live personal one-on-one times. And sometimes during crew calls, as you know, if we get a big call, I kind of have to talk one to many, and I don't get a chance to just kind of bunker down with you guys. So we're just going to jump right in. I'm gonna touch on some of the questions that were submitted, and then I'll open it up to those of you that are here live if we want to cover some things as well. So thank you, those of you that had asked about a few different things. And so the first one I wrote down here, I think, was Jeff's question. And I saw Jeff just pop on there. How you doing, buddy? And he was asking about, if I read it correctly, fail success stories. Like what seemed like a fail initially in the midst of it that ended up being a success. And I could fill up 40 minutes of this call with that alone. I could talk about, it was funny. I signed up as a coach. I was living in New York City, but I was in Arizona doing a show. I was in Phoenix doing a show when I signed up. Because that's when Melanie Boland reached out to me via AOL Instant Messenger, basically telling me about the opportunity. And so I remember, because I signed up because I got my welcome pack while I was still in Phoenix. And back then, it was like this big box, and it was like business cards and brochures, and very little structure, very little. It was just kind of, hey, you're a coach. Ta-da. A lot of catalogs, because we're supposed to pass out catalogs and stuff like that. So, but as much as I had success with the business, as much as you couldn't shut me up about, I'd just come off a tour where we did P90X in the hotel rooms, and my friends were giving me a hard time about how much I talked about this stuff, asking, do you get paid by these people, whatever. And I'm like, no. The minute I signed up, I got real shy. And in fact, the way the theater had worked, they had set me up to live like in a back vacation part of another gentleman's house who was in the show as well. And he was telling people more, he was my first sell. He bought hip hop bags just because he thought Shaun T was attractive. I still to this day think he never popped in the DVD. I think he just wanted to watch him. And I think on the flip side, I think there's probably lots of guys that have bought the 21 Day Fix just to look at Autumn that has never really popped in a DVD either. So, and he would tell people about what I was doing. Oh, those programs, you see them on TV, you can get them through Jimmy. And I was really shy about it. And I know that probably all shocks you. But there was a time that I was just like, I don't know if ashamed was the word, but there was that weird mind shift of, oh, now I get paid to do this stuff. And I didn't know exactly what to do with it. I changed that enthusiasm that just naturally flowed out of me beforehand. And I see that over and over again in coaches that, specifically those of you that I found you or you found me via social media, and you were just Like you wouldn't shut up about either your fitness journey or specifically Beachbody programs. And then you sign up to be a coach and you freeze up because you don't know what to do anymore. Where if you would just continue to do the same things, talk about it, not necessarily stick your link or your website on everything, the people would still be attracted to you and drawn to you. So I think that was the first thing, was just I changed my enthusiasm. My focus changed, and so I froze. Another thing that was a big fail, and there's been multiple examples of this, but back in the day, we were just really told that we needed to run opportunity meetings on a regular basis. And so I would rent space in New York City and invite people that I knew to come out, and I'd rent this dance space for like $35, $40 an hour for a couple hours. So it was costing me, like $80 a week for an actor with no job. Kelly had income, but we really didn't have an extra $80 a week to blow. And thankfully, she just went along with, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. And so I was just sticking stuff on credit cards because hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I was never scared to do the work. I would get frustrated at times, and I would do the things that I was been told that I was supposed to do, and I didn't always see the results I wanted. But I know, looking back on it now, that a lot of this was sweat equity. Was when you talk about priming the pump, like priming that pump and not seeing results. I know that some of the results and the blessings that we've endured long term, my fortitude and I'm in this for the long haul, and my belief in what we do that's unwavering now, and you can't shake me no matter how many times you tell me no, or to jump off a cliff, or coaches quit on me, which happens to me daily, that was built back then in those meetings of me showing up. It's literally my buddy Jet, Kelly, and me. And like in New York City, we had this whole, I don't have it in here. I thought I had it in here. It's downstairs. We had this entire showcase pack that we would bring. It was like all the videos and the accessories, and we'd set it up in this night, and like the vitamins and everything. Because we didn't have Shakeology back then. So you'd set this up on a table, and I'd lug a projector, and we'd set all this up, and I'd have an hour-long PowerPoint that I was looking to do, and I got a lot of practice in that. Even telling this story, what I realized that a piece that's missing for a lot of us is not that we still need to do meetings, but we still need to make sure that we have some way that we're sharing the business on a weekly, if not daily basis. So if you haven't created just a little simple 3-minute video of, this is why I became a Beachbody coach, and this is who I'm looking for, this is what I do, this is what it means, and this is who I'm looking for, I'm going to really make that your assignment this week. Because that's something you can even give to your friends and family that have no interest in what we do, and in a very non-threatening way say, hey, I'm really serious about trying to get this thing up and running. Here's a link to a video. So you can either just give them, the YouTube link, or you can go to GoDaddy and buy a URL that's easy to remember, that it's, LaceyIsAcoach.com or whatever you want to, here's my video.com, whatever, and just have that URL forward to that video and just say, hey, I'm just looking to help some people get fit. If you're not interested, no harm, no foul. But can I just give you, it's the equivalent of saying, here's my business card. You don't have to do business with me. Will you hand this to anybody if you come across them and know that they may need what I do? I'd really appreciate that. And even that your friends and family that may scoff at what you do, I think at the heart of things, they would at least do that for you. So that was something that really didn't pan out. I used to always think I had to hit the home run in everything I did as a coach. I thought that it was the next big idea. It was, what can I do that's different than what other people are doing? And to use a baseball analogy, I was always trying to hit a home run, where I've realized that literally bunting or hitting a single every day and moving the base runners over in the long run is what builds you a successful business. And if you're always swinging for the fences with some big, elaborate idea that takes a lot of extra work and takes a lot of time to get up and running, that can be frustrating. And another example of that is a failure that I don't know where the success in it exactly was, but I'd gone out to LA for about 6 weeks to go to some acting classes to see if I was really having trouble booking anything in New York. And a buddy of mine said, well, just come. I went out to LA for a summit, and I just stayed for 6 weeks. And I had a buddy of mine that was shooting a TV show. He was on a network TV show in LA, but they had just moved the show to New York City. And he said, would you be interested in driving my car from LA to New York? He said, I'll pay your gas. And whenever I said, can I make it a business thing? And he's like, yeah, sure. So that's where, that's where this was born. This is before the crew, and hey, look, the logo looks really familiar. That's where this whole thing, and it was what was deemed the 2620 road trip. And it was a road trip from Los Angeles to New York with 8 stops in 3 days, doing Beachbody trips or doing Beachbody workouts along the way. And it was me and 4 coaches, none of whom are really active in the group in the crew anymore, which is still shocking to me. One who may be coming to Summit that I'm working on. And so we did this thing. We kicked it off pretty good. We had a group workout with my buddy Mike Karpinko, and we did another group workout on the beach with Tony Horton. Phoenix, we didn't have anybody show up. El Paso, we had 1 person show up. We had a pretty decent showing in Dallas just because I knew a lot of coaches in Dallas already. You know, my cousin John was there. But even that one, we didn't really recruit a lot. It was just a lot of pre-existing coaches. Decent turnout in Memphis, Tennessee because of Daryl Williams and their fit club. And then the cool part of it, then we ended it in New York City, and Sean T did me a favor and did 2 workouts for us in New York. But out of that entire thing, I think there were only 2 coaches sponsored because I was still very timid about asking people to sign up. I wanted to show them everything and just hope that they stumbled across my website. I was very nervous and very self-conscious about just asking, so would you like to do this? Would you like to sign up today? Because I was so terrified of the rejection. And I think that was a lot of root in me from having a lot of rejection issues, just growing up in a broken home and with rejection issues there, just growing up a heavy kid and dealing with a lot of rejection. So we did that entire thing, and I went into a few $1,000s of debt paying for hotel rooms and projectors, and we really didn't have anything to show for it. But again, I feel like all those things, I was never scared to try anything, right? So I continued to put work in it. I was never just, hey, let me learn things and never activate. I was willing to activate. And I want to say that was really a big secret to my success is that I was always willing to throw something against the wall and try it. And again, and you've probably heard me say this before, a decision I made subconsciously. It wasn't a conscious decision when I first signed up, but subconsciously was that I was never just trying this thing. I was in this sucker for the long haul. This was such a cool community that, if this road trip doesn't work, I'm quitting. Or if this fit club doesn't work, that was never in it. It was just, I got frustrated because some of the things I was trying wasn't working. And there finally came a point where I had to quit trying to reinvent the wheel. It became more important for me to be successful than it was for it to be 1,000% my idea. And that was a really big shift. And it was something I just got done talking to another coach about, specifically those of you coming to Summit. It was a conversation about Summit, and I was just saying, look, I'm not trying to get you to come to Summit because I'm trying to make you a cookie cutter clone coach. I'm not trying to make you a Lindsay Matway or a Melissa McAllister or a Josh Spencer or whatever you perceive in your head. I said, but I had to let go of, I had to be willing to say, let me hear a few of your ideas. And then how can I put my personality on that? And at the end of the day, very few things you guys ever see me do is 1,000%, oh, Jimmy had a brilliant idea. It was Jimmy saw this and tweaked it and made it my voice or made it my whatever. And for some people, there's a big pride thing to be like, well, this needed to be mine. And the point I was making to this coach was, does anybody look at my level of success and discount it because, oh, he got that idea from this person, or he does that kind of like this coach? No, not at the end of the day. And so it was me being willing to look at what some other people are doing and again, activate it. It all comes down. You can have all the knowledge in the world, and if you don't go throw something against the wall on a consistent basis, not once, and that didn't work. Those meetings I did for months. In fact, when we moved back to Dallas, where there was a ton of leaders, I somehow talked a bunch of 5, 10, 15-star coaches into doing a meeting once a week in kind of a central location in Dallas. And that's everybody driving an hour, basically, because I'm like, no, we need to build this market. We need to do this thing. And I'm thankful that a lot of these leaders listen to me, but it never caught. Again, we'd have one guest here, a couple guests there, and we just kept thinking, oh, we'll do this, and that guest will bring a guest, and then we'll be having like 500 people a week. And it never happened. And that's when I had to step back and say, okay, not questioning my work ethic, but where are my efforts? And as you guys look at your efforts, really think of your level of success and whatever level that is. You've got one person to buy a program. You have a couple coaches sign up. You've reached a certain rank, or you reached a certain income. Really review, okay, out of all the things I'm doing, is there a pattern of when people really do get signed up? It's usually 20% of your effort. You're usually out there doing a bunch. And really, if you really zeroed it in, you'd be like, it's 20% that's this. I was reminded the other day that I found 4 of my diamond coaches on Twitter, and I don't spend every day on Twitter. And I'm like, why don't I do that more often? Christy Weiler, found on Twitter. Adrian Fernandez, I found on Twitter. It was like, I think Beverly Schlag I found on Twitter. And I'm not a huge Twitter guy. I like it, but I'm not on Twitter every day. I'm on Facebook every day. Why not? And so I have to continually reevaluate myself. What are the few actions that get the biggest results? And then why am I wasting time with all this other fiddly fart stuff? So I'm going to remind you guys are taking notes here before I move to the next question and before we open this up. And for those of you that have plugged in, and I want to remind you of my power of 5. Like literally for me, it comes down to 5 things every day. And I want you to look at this, and just as last week, and thank you guys all for that went through the assignment last week and really listed, this is exactly what I want out of this business. I think that's great for me to help you, but I think more importantly, it's good for you to hear you say that, So I'm gonna share with you quickly Power 5, and if you want to hear the long version of this, I will post it in the mentorship group because I did a crew call on it a couple weeks ago. But my Power 5 is PPDS. You got to be doing a program in Drink and Shakeology daily. Like you got to be doing what we're selling. That doesn't mean you have to have crazy ripped abs. That doesn't mean you have to be even in shape or fit. But it does mean that you're investing a period of your time every day to do what it is that we're selling, right? Because if you don't do it, nobody's going to be attracted to you in your story. And even if that story is, man, I'm struggling right now with my weight loss, but I'm plugging into this 21-day fix, and I'm really excited about the results I'm seeing. Or, man, I've been down 2 pounds and I'm up 5, but I'm still sticking with this thing because I believe in it. That's a huge story, guys. And I know sometimes that's intimidating because you feel like, we all need to be fitness, whatever. But it really isn't. People don't follow perfection. People don't relate. In fact, yesterday I was working out with my friend Barbie Decker. And if you don't follow Barbie, do. She's a really cool chick, super, super successful at this. And we were talking about why people follow us or what's the difference. And she said, the other day I just asked on my wall, why do you follow me? So I was like, I'll do that. And it was interesting to see the amount of people that said, it's because I shared good and bad, that I don't really try to come across as fitness expert 101. That I talk about my weekends out with my wife, enjoying cocktails and a dessert, or, hey, now I'm going to really lock in and I'm doing, like, I just kind of share my life. And, and think about, why did you sign up with Kelly and I? Like, what was it about us that attracted you to us? And whatever that is, hey, you were consistent. Hey, you were real. Hey, you have the same, even though if you don't have my story, you have the same power to do that. So that's number one. Number two is obviously personal development. David Lucero shared on the group today, and I'm so proud of him. He's a guy that came in, and really there was a lot of negativity, a lot of baggage when he first came in. And, should I be doing this? There were some other negative coaches that got in his ear. Like, it's frustrating when you have teammates that aren't building you up, and I'm going to get to this. Somebody asked about accountability partners, and I'm going to get to that here in just a second. But he stuck with me, and I was like, dude, we got to change how you look at stuff, And he did. He really did take the personal development part to heart. And if you're not listening to a good 15, 20 minutes a day, I'm going to really encourage you to do so. In fact, if you don't have one of these, or go download it, I've started re-listening to it again. It's literally an hour long. You can get it for $2 on iTunes. I happen to, what I'm going to start doing is mailing this out to new coaches that I sponsor. But you guys can get it on iTunes for $2, 2 or 3. Building Your Network Marketing Business from Jim Rohn. And it's the heart of what we do. I mean, there's times I go back and listen, I'm like, oh man, I've been listening to this thing for 5 years. And he does say, work in groups instead of individually, which is what we're doing right now. One of the reasons this call became, because I was like, I knew I was exhausting myself trying to work with all of you one-on-one. And I kept feeling like people were slipping through the cracks. And that, I felt bad about that. So even if it's that, I listen to Stephen Furtick in Elevation Church in the mornings. I'm not saying you have to have this in my same belief system, but I get that dude, man. I like the way he talks. I think I enjoy him because I always thought if I ever was a preacher, I think I'd have been like him, because he's pretty, this is who I am and this is what's wrong. And, he talks about struggling with his temper. And, I like the fact that he's not a polished preacher, and I dig him. I listen to, the cool thing is, even if you don't buy anything, you can go on YouTube and, pop in Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins. You can go listen to crew calls. You can listen to national coach calls. There's just a litany of personal development everywhere, right? So that's number 2. Number 3 is expand your network. Like, you've got to meet new people. And it's funny because I was giving Mary a hard time because she posted on the crew wall about the girl that shared on the national coach call this week, talking about how she found people and interests she has outside of Beachbody. You watched 4 calls with me. You hear me talk about that all the time, right? And so in my own sarcastic way, I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Another thing I had to learn as a leader is sometimes it's not important that it was me. Because there's times, and you guys will realize this, you talk to your coaches, that you will hammer something home to a coach forever, and they will go hear it from somebody else, and they'll go, oh, you know what I just learned? And you just have to learn to go, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that person pointed that out. Because in the past, it was so vital that it was like, you idiot, I told you that a long time ago. And I was like, that was just my ego needing to be me. I go through with my mom a lot. I'll tell my mom stuff about health and fitness. And she'll, Jimmy, you know what I just read in Men's Health magazine? Really, Mom? That's great. Yeah, it's true, Jennifer. Kids do it all the time. Like, sometimes the cool uncle has to tell them something because mom and dad, it's just like in one ear and out the other, right? But so you need to expand your network every day. You need to be making new friends online, which is so easy to do every day. You don't have to pitch them anything. There just needs to be at least 5 new people a day that know you exist today that didn't know you existed yesterday. Whether that's going on a Facebook fan page of something you're into and starting a conversation, whether that's searching hashtags on Twitter or Instagram about interests you have and commenting on pictures, or Pinterest. If you're into, Kelly does a lot of fashion stuff on Pinterest. Don't get in conversations or fashion stuff on Instagram. My sister-in-law just started like her own company where she makes these cute little, she makes scarves, and she's made Kelly like some aprons. And so it's like this, it's like fashion, but also artsy craftsy kind of. And like, there's this whole community out there, people that talk about this. I went to my first Comic-Con with John last week. That's a whole community of people that John can go talk to any day about the new X-Men movie or video games or whatever. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what we do, but you're just trying to establish relationships. So that's number 3. Number 4, you got to be sharing 2 and 3 success stories a day. Hopefully one of those is yours. And by success story with you, it's I got up and drank a shake and did my 15 minutes of workout. That's part of the success story, right? That should be at least be 1 a day. And then, this morning I got up and did a spin class, and I posted and I tagged the instructor on it. Thanks for helping me get my day started great. Okay, well, is that going to help me sell a challenge pack? Heck, I'm even showing that I went to a gym. I didn't do something at home. Isn't that going to conflict? No. It shows I live a healthy lifestyle, and people are going to see my consistency and see that I do a litany of things, right? That I understand sometimes you just want to be around some other people when you get your sweat on. You don't necessarily want to be at home alone. Other days I'm going to talk about doing Beast upstairs with Asher the other day, But then I'm also going to reach out. I'm going to share somebody I'm going to share a story from the Crew Wall or from the Beachbody Challenge Facebook page where you can pull pictures. Or, there's so many places. You can just go to beachbodychallenge.com, pull pictures off there. Just find stories. Go to YouTube and find a really compelling coach story of somebody who's paid off a lot of debt, or somebody like Tara Carr who brought her husband was a Green Beret and brought him home early so he wasn't at risk in his life, and that they all just moved from Okinawa, Japan back to Ohio. That's a cool story. I'm so inspired to know I'm a part of a community with stories like this. Link, whatever. Just go encourage some people. And then you need to invite those people that seem interested, that person that likes that photo or comments, or then you can reach out to them in a private message. Hey, thanks for liking my stuff. What is it that you like best about it? It doesn't mean you immediately pitch. It just means that conversation starts, but there's a little bit more of an agenda to it. Hey, I saw you like this picture. I really appreciate the support. What did you like? What was it that you liked? I know what I like best about it. What did you like best about it? And you start conversations that way. Those conversations with those people that have the same hobbies and interests that you have, hopefully somewhere on on your profile, on your Facebook page, somewhere, if they go, oh, I'm talking to this guy, I like him, I'm going to go back to their page. You're consistent enough with your fitness post. It's not all you post about, right? Because there's multifacets of you. But if I scrolled your feed, I'd see that at least once or twice a day, you've talked about health and fitness somewhere. The same way on my feed, okay, there may be something about, sports and a movie I've seen and something with the family. Oh, there's a fitness thing. And then I went to Comic-Con and I went to this party, and oh, there's a thing about a shake. Oh, but they see a consistency. So when they do ask, what do you do? Or how do I get, what's this thing? Or I noticed a change in you, that you don't do the mistake I made on my road trip, which was asking people, have you ever considered doing what I do? I help people get started. Or even if you're brand new and that scares the fool out of you, hey, have you ever thought about getting started? I have a team, I'm still kind of new and I don't necessarily have all the answers. Literally, when using that is one of the most powerful things. Hey, I'm kind of new. I don't know all the answers. It takes all the pressure off to be perfect immediately. And the person you're talking to is crazy forgiving. That's better than trying to pretend that you're something you're not. I wish I could just still say, hey, I'm new. I'm new, which my anniversary is the first. What is that, Saturday? It'll be 7 years as a coach on Saturday. I wish I could still say that. I'm new. I still feel new sometimes, but no, you have this group to say, because 90%. I also learned this stat. I was on a call with corporate. There's 180,000 coaches. We're about to hit 200,000 for the end of the year. 90% of new coaches are coming in via social media, which I don't think is a shock to anybody. But the nice thing about them coming in via social media is you don't have to be quick on your feet. You can see a message come in and think about it, or go to the mentorship group and go, oh my gosh, guys, I got one on the hook. They said this. What the hell do I say? Okay, great. We're here to help. It isn't that I have to be the door-to-door salesman. I literally had a door-to-door salesman come to my house yesterday selling steaks. I was like, people still do this? I guess so. I should have recruited the guy. He was at least willing to work, but I was just like, that's not efficient at all. So those are the 5 things. So what I would love to see you guys do in your assignment is just be honest. How consistent are you with those 5 things? And let us know what it is, the things that you're struggling with, because without accountability or without willing to be vulnerable with each other, none of us get any better, right? Which leads me, there was another question about accountability partners. This is always a really funny topic to me. Not funny, but just interesting. Do I have accountability partners in my life? Absolutely. People like Mike Ryan and Tommy Migrant, when you guys come to the pre-summit meeting, you will see me with 2 of the biggest guys that keep me in check and keep pushing me that I've ever met. Do I have an accountability partner that checks on me daily to make sure I'm doing what I need to do? Nope. Have I ever needed to be that for the people that I consider my accountability partners? Nope. Did I send Tommy Migrant a text yesterday morning at 6 a.m. saying, hey, buddy, hadn't heard from you in a while. How are things? How's biz? What's going on? Absolutely. But if you're thinking, I need an accountability partner to take action, you're looking for the wrong thing. Where I found the best accountability partners is when 2 people with the same work ethic, with the same goals come together. It's amazing what happens from that. And I found my accountability partners literally by going to events and got to talking to people, and you realize you click with somebody. Now, you could also do that on the crew wall, that if you see certain posts, and be like, oh, they would really help me. But if you're going to look for the accountability partner because you think that person's more consistent than I am, then I don't know that it works that way. I know somebody like Tulin gets asked to be everybody's accountability partner 85 times a day. Why? Because the chick gets stuff done. Because she's living this every day. And I don't know that it works real well if one person has to constantly be the cheerleader for the other. You want an accountability partner. You don't want an excuse partner. And if I'm getting my stuff done, but my job as the accountability partner is to continually boost up the other person, and it's not even, it just doesn't work. So, but if you and somebody else in the crew that's been in this thing about the same time, and you're like, okay, we're drawing a line in the sand. We're getting to diamond by the end of July, or we're getting, you both have that same goal, and you've given each other permission to call each other out. That's great. I've even seen it work really well when 2 people decide to be accountability partners, but they do it in a public forum like the mentorship group or like the crew wall, right? They're working together, but their communication is happening publicly. And it tends to inspire others, and it continues to, again, once you've said something and put it out there, I'm going to X. To me, it's game on, because I gotta get this stuff done, right? I gotta be consistent. And again, it's not about 8 hours on Saturday. It's literally about, an hour I go back to somebody like Mary Schrank, who's built this business in an hour lunch break. That's how she initially started and got to Diamond, was I'm going to put my head down. And she knew what her power of 5 was, right? She knew in an hour, this is what I need to get done. It's not, so she would do her personal development driving to work. So her power hour wasn't about watching another YouTube video or watching another training or getting remotivated. It was, I got this hour to go reach out to new people, follow up with the people that have shown interest, create a post or schedule some stuff. Like it was work time. It was reach out and interact time. But as far as my, and so hopefully that answers the accountability question a bit. And sometimes it's like dating, guys. I mean, it's like you try it with somebody, I've had people come to me and go, man, I just don't think this is a good match. I'm like, then you just got to be bold enough to think, I just think we have different goals right now, and to bless and release. I'm going to also tell you, I encourage you that your success partner not be one of your coaches, because it's always like, if I was your success partner and I'm checking in on you, there's somewhere in the back of your brain that's like, well, Jimmy's only checking in on me because he needs me to hold a rank, or he needs me to do, and I've run into that where I literally am trying to help my coaches, but when they hear from me on Wednesday or Thursday, they assume it's just because I see they're going to fall out of rank. And I'm trying to help, but the message they get is, oh, I only hear from Jimmy when he sees I'm going to fall out of rank. So I really kind of backed off from that and allowed my coaches to really own their business. And does that mean sometimes I don't check in as often as I want to? Yes. Because I've created this forum to hopefully you guys take advantage to say, man, I'm struggling. I need some help. And for me, it works much better that way, for the person that raises their hand and says help, than the person I have to go chase down and say, are you doing what we talked about? Because then I become a babysitter, and that's not something I enjoy in my business. And then I feel like I'm hounding people. I'm trying to talk people into doing something that I don't know they want to do. And I want to work my business empowering those people that want it. It doesn't mean that you don't struggle, or it doesn't mean that you're going to get judgment from me if you're like, I just blew it this week. But as long as I know that you're wanting to do this, and as long as you're taking baby steps, if we keep hitting the same issue and I ask, okay, are you doing this? No. Why not? Okay, I will. Are you doing this? Well, I need you at least to take baby steps with me, right? You don't have to sprint this. There are those people that come in and sprint this sucker, and I'll sprint with you if you want to sprint, and I'll walk with you and walk. But I need at least, baby steps. And then last question that was posted, and then I'll open up here before we wrap up. Wow, stinking 45 minutes flies by. Oh, has this been helpful so far? I mean, just so I think it was Shannon that asked about Elite. And you know what's funny? The first time I made Elite, it wasn't a goal that I'd set. I really got serious about making Success Club on a regular basis, and I really focused in on recruiting coaches on a regular basis. That I wasn't going to just sell anybody just a challenge pack or just a product. That my shift was, I'm going to show you the Beachbody buffet. This is everything we do, and here's how it works. And allow somebody to tell me, I only want the salad bar, right? I don't want the mac and cheese or the dessert at the end. And when I made that shift, I started bringing on more coaches. And if you watch the Eric Worre thing about bringing in 20 coaches in 30 days, I kind of did that without setting that goal. I just talked about the opportunity. This is what we do. And that's where the team really started growing, is because I started bringing on more coaches. And I had to go through a lot of coaches in order to find the people that really want to do this. In fact, I'm looking at, I have on my wall right here, a grid. I think I've shown you guys this before, a picture of, I had set a pretty big recruiting goal this year. And so every coach that has been recruited this year has their own sticker on the wall. And they have the date they signed up, what business center they're in, if they're in mine or Kelly's or my mother, because I manage a few, and then a star by what their rank is. And I got real discouraged the other day because I started looking at that wall, and there weren't very many that I feel are consistently engaged in the business, right? But then I had to remember, Eric Worre in that video talks about even if you bring in 20 coaches in 30 days, the average says that maybe 3 or 4 of those people will really do much with the business. Isn't that nuts? Now, that means they build the business. If all 30 of those people stay on Shakeology, that's still building volume. That's not a fail. You know, that's building both my legs. That's enjoying team bonuses. And if 2 out of, right now I have 20, I've recruited 29 coaches this year so far. And 1 of those have gone diamond. 1 is emerald. And I think that's the only 2 rank advance. That can't be right. I'll have to go back and look at this. I think there's more rank advancements than that. I don't think we've updated the stars. But there's a lot of people up there that I look, and they're on team calls, or I see them in the crew. So success, right? But I always hate to use it's a numbers game because that makes it sound like we don't care about people. It's not that we don't care. But when I just started focusing on bringing people in, building my business, I was at an event and Stephanie Richardson says, "Oh, I saw the leaderboard the other day. You're on pace to make elite." And I'm like, "I am? What does that mean?" I didn't even know. And that's back when I didn't even know if there was 30 elite coaches the year I made elite. And the rules were a little different. You didn't have to be 5-star. It was just, they tweaked the rules every year. And so it's like anything else. It wasn't about this big giant goal. It was about really focusing in on what the daily activities were. The other thing, so I may hit elite this year before summit. And I don't tell you that to brag. I tell you that because a couple years ago, one of the gentlemen from corporate, we were talking about goals and stuff, and he was talking about top 10 coaches. He's like, yeah, a lot of those top 10 coaches hit elite before summit. And I'm like, that's nuts. Who hits elite before summit? Like, who gets all those points? And I was like, that's crazy. That's impossible. And I told him coming into this year, it wasn't like, oh, I need to make elite or I'm shooting for top 10 or anything like that. I really just wanted to bring on more coaches, right like my board is, and really invest in them. And I will know when the June one comes out, there's a really good chance that I'll already have my 125 points. But it was never about getting to elite. It's about, am I meeting 3 to 5 new people a day? Am I sharing my story? Am I being real and vulnerable via social media? And I'm inviting people. I'm just looking for people that are looking for me. I've really shifted beyond, if I've given somebody an opportunity probably twice to get involved and they're not involved or they're not interested or they disappear, I don't write them off, but they don't get messages from me anymore either. And different coaches will look at that different ways, but for my sanity, I had to go that route because there's too many people out there that haven't been touched by us that literally would leap at this opportunity. I didn't have to talk Shannon Lee into this. She was like, Canada's open. Where do I sign up? I'm in. At all. There was never that moment of talking. There are those people that there isn't that they get it. They're like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. But we don't find those people. We get discouraged when we talking to the same 6 people that don't see the opportunity, that think it's a scam or this is why it won't work. So then we think those 6 people are how everybody in the world feels, right? And it's not. So, that I don't know if that helps, Shannon, but that it's not a big sexy. This is how to get to an elite answer. But yeah, we have just a couple here. Let me unmute Jennifer real quick. Go ahead. We have just a couple minutes because then I got to jump on with the Diamond coaches at the top of the hour.
I really need help with this, and I've been trying to think of the proper way to word it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, several times, like, we can give ourselves a raise anytime we want, da 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 da. I'm having a hard time with the inviting. Like, I try to start up a conversation a couple times with like the girls at the bank. They're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, what do you do?" And da 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 da. I'm like, "Well, I just started Beachbody. This is what it is." And they look at me like I have two heads. I'm on multiple different groups on Facebook, and stuff will come up of like, are there any moms that work from home or stuff that I can engage in?
Right.
And I'll say, okay, I do XYZ, but then it stops there. It's almost like, oh, I do this. You can join my challenge group. Oh, and by the way, it'll be $200 for a challenge pack. It's like I'm having a hard time with the inviting. It's not the meeting of the people, it's the conversion, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been like trying to think of the proper wording to ask that way. I'm like, I want to give myself a raise, but it's like, I'm done at like, okay, I'm a beach body coach. I'm not a physical fitness trainer. I've seen enough videos that I know the verbiage,
Yeah.
but I
No,
don't know if I'm doing the verbiage wrong. I don't
no,
know.
that's a great question, and I'm really glad you brought that up because for me, I think everybody finds their sweet spot. And first of all, props, you're doing the activities, right? And so sometimes it's frustrating because you're like, man, I know what the end game is. So the fact that you're just having these conversations is like celebrate the heck out of that because that's great. That's the only way we learn. It's the only way we get better is to go through these times where you're like, well, I blew that. And you might not have blown that, but we assume because they didn't sign on the dotted line or they didn't seem interested. For me, I found giving just a little bit of information and waiting to see if the conversation continues works really well. So, somebody brings up, are there any moms that struggle with their weight at home? You know, what's a great example of that? I work with a group and we help people lose weight at home without buying a gym membership. Silence. And if they ask another question, then I ask questions back. I think it was Danny Johnson said this a long time ago. Whoever asks the most questions really controls the conversation. And we're so excited because what we do is so legit and it works so well. We want to just go, I'm a Beachbody coach and people get in challenge groups and blah, 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 blah. Do you want in? And you hear silence and we're like, why don't they get this? They said they had a problem. I just provided them more than a solution. It's the same lesson I had to learn with my wife. She doesn't always just want an answer when she's telling me what the problem is, right? So, so I always give just a little bit of information. I help people earn income from home, or I work from home. Great. Well, what do you do? Well, what kind of stuff are you looking to do from home? And so you kind of pull them along step by step by asking the questions before I show my entire hand. If in your example, are there moms that work from home? Yep, I'm a mom that works from home. Then if they still don't respond, then it could be so many things besides you. It could have been that they weren't really serious about doing anything, even if there could have been 8 different women that had different work at home opportunities. And that person that asked really wasn't serious about taking anything. Some people just want to talk and some people just want to complain. It's like that person is like, I have no energy and I feel fat. So we go, oh, I got a challenge group, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter if like 6-pack Jesus showed up at their front door and like just laid hands on them, that they would find a reason to complain, right? So I always go back to that, and I think you've probably already watched this as well. I always go back to that handling objections video that Barbie and Tommy did at Summit a few years ago. And I just love the way Tommy talks about how conversations go, and just really asking the right questions. But that was a lesson. It took me a long time to not just give up all the information immediately because we're like, okay, well, I'm just going to take you from A to Z, and because you want to get to Z, so let's get there fast, So it's not necessarily anything you're doing wrong. I would just continue to try different things. Ask more questions. Oh, why do you ask? Are you looking to work from home? Are you looking, if it's a weight loss thing? Oh yeah. I'm actually, I've been having some success losing weight from home. Is that something you're looking to do too? And I've had people go, oh no, not really. And then I'm like, okay, you weren't thank you. You just saved me an hour's worth of, you saved me an hour's worth of my voice. You saved me my confidence getting kicked in because I'm going to feel like I did something wrong. When at the end of the day, and I've heard this said again and again and again, Jen, you can give the worst presentation to the right person, say all the wrong crap and really just like stumble over yourself. And if it's the right person that's ready for it, they're going to get involved. You could give a Tony Robbins presentation, pristine, amazing, to the wrong person, and they're still going to say no. And at the end of the day, it has very little to do with you or me or anybody else.
But I guess I'm stumbling to where I'm not shy in the sense of I don't have a problem talking to people on social media or in person, but as many of us do, we hate sales pitches, and it's like that conversion thing without sounding salesy. Like the conversation starts with, I just want to help you, but then converting it to where like, okay, well, we have this and it'll cost you X amount, and then not sounding like a salesperson.
Absolutely. And there's one question that that really helped me. So if I'm conversing with somebody and I'm asking a bunch of questions, so what is it you want to do? I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Why? You know, what is it that you'll be able to do once you lose those 20 pounds? And you really, and Tommy talks about that, you really stay on that if you're kind of following the 5-step script sample. And I don't use that verbatim, but I feel like it's a nice guide. That if they're saying, if you get past you get to the heart of why they want to lose weight over the number, right? Because that weight represents something for a bunch of different people, or the energy, or, you know, I want to feel sexy for my husband, or I want energy with my kids, or I don't want to be embarrassed when I go to my kids' functions, or whatever. Like you find that really that emotional why. Then a question that's a huge question that I love talking to you guys because that remind me stuff too in my business, the stuff that I've been, is, wow, so you're telling me that you want to lose 20 pounds so you feel more confident when you go to your kids' functions. Am I hearing you right? Yes. If I could show you how to do that for less than a 6-month gym membership would normally cost you, is that something you'd be interested in taking a peek at? And if they say no, then again, you know, it's not salesy, but you're asking a question before you give the solution again. If I can show you a way to do that from 20 minutes from home, is that something you'd be interested in taking a look at? Or is that something you'd be interested in investing in? If I could show you how to lose that 20 pounds from home and try it for 30 days risk-free, would you be willing to be a test group? You know, would you really, you know, and the only reason I got these things is I just kept trying stuff. You know, it was total trial and error. And I jacked up enough conversations to finally find my niche. But it only happened. So you're already on your road. The fact that you're already in these conversations, you're on your way. You just got to continue to not be spooked by the frustration of it, because you're not the only person. And we all go through this. Like, I didn't know what to say or what to do. I don't know. I'll have to post this. I think I posted in the crew all the other day. I looked the other day. I made a video. I think it was a video. My first 2 months as a coach, I made a whopping $16. I couldn't get people to do jack, you know? And I was awful. I was really bad. And I like to think that I'm a pretty good people person and I talk all right, but I was just horrible. And I think that I know that it's just a matter of continuing to check that out. Go back, revisit that 5-step script. Again, I'm not a huge fan of it verbatim. I think it does sound a little salesy, but I think it's a great guide in how do we guide people in these conversations. Specifically, if you find a lot of your conversations are happening via messages back and forth on Facebook or via people, you know, at the bank or, you know, in what you're doing. So, and then just keep letting us know about it in the mentorship group and say, okay, this is how this one went today, or this, hey, I got a little further. I got a maybe. Let's celebrate a maybe, you know, that you're going to get there. And don't beat yourself up so much thinking that you're way behind the curve, because you're not. The fact that you're out there doing it puts you in front of half the coaches in the crew that don't ever go put any of this in action. So chin up. Don't, I know it's so easy to be discouraged. It's so for all of us. It's just like it's like doing your workout for 2 weeks and the scale isn't budging. It's working. It's priming that pump, right? You got to keep going and that water's going to come. But the minute you stop, you got to start all over again. So don't do that. So, oh my gosh, guys, it's the top of the hour. I got to go talk to some diamond coaching. I love you guys. And keep going. Switch arms, Jennifer. You don't just want one big prime pump arm. Like switch arms. Love you guys. I'm going to go make the fastest shake in the world and let me know how else I can help. I look forward to seeing your Power of 5 report card for yourself. All right, you guys take care.
Thank you.